So obviously we have different temperatures in there, but you guys can see me in there above my mask. Should be like orange, red, and yellow, because I'm the warmest thing in the picture. So I usually joke around that I'm the hottest thing in there. The wife doesn't like that line, so I cut it out. But I can do it when I have just ladies on the tour. It's fun. But anyway, you can see when I'm out of the picture and I move my hand, because the camera's right here, it's going to fluctuate based on whatever's inside that screen. So again, this is probably one of the coolest tools I have. It just doesn't obtain a ton of evidence. But when I do have something, wow, it's there. So again, it's already recording. So you're going to have this full recording back along with the audio. But the audio, you're going to have we're not going to separate. Normally when I have a group of 10, I kind of spread them out. And then I bounce around with everybody and kind of show them more tactics. But I have to work too, because it's only 3 of us. So who wants to go with this? All you have to do is hold it.
Maybe that's for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll hold. I can hold.
And you guys feel, and all of your devices have been sanitized. And that's what I was doing in between tours. I do that 3 times a day. When I use them in the morning and then once before every tour. And I was doing that before COVID, so that was just a thing for me.
That's good.
Like I have a separate thing of just sanitary wipes.
Nice.
So we need something cool for you too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, oh yeah, get me something. So spirit boxes, you guys are probably familiar with these from your TV shows.
Yep.
This one is a little bit different.
Okay.
First off, it's going to record the entire session.
Okay.
And it's not going to record any outside noise. So our conversation will not be on there.
Okay.
And it will record even when it's on mute. So even when I'm telling you the stories and I say go ahead and turn it down, just because we're being a little too loud for the area, it's still going to record at a nice even level. It's beautiful. This is my favorite device. So when I'm doing my own investigations, I set this guy up on mute and I toss it in my pocket. I listen to it later. So yeah. So, and that's just how I roll. And there's all of these other devices are in my pockets too. Like the camera's hanging out of my cargo with just the camera at the top. So I have this view over here. I can turn, and I could still enjoy the museum and the places of interest, just like you. And then I just review all the data later. So when I did Fort Sumter, that was actually in this pocket, and the camera was right here. Nobody knew what I was doing. This was running in my pocket, and I'll show you the next spirit box that I'm going to be using. It was just running on my phone. And I had EMF pulling out from time to time. I think my wife had something on her as well. Like, we have all the data. It's just sitting in files on my computer.
Wow.
It's an interesting one. All right, so this is already set up to record. How this is set up, and normally, let's think of Zach Bagans for a second. You get that white noise, right?
Right.
You know, he gives you what he thinks you want, what he wants you to hear, kind of thing. We're going to do some suggestive just to get you learning, like adapted to it. But after that, it's really going to be putting clues together. So that's what this is about. I'm a puzzle guy, so that's why I'm so good at this. So this is slowed down. I want the radio chatter to come through. Song lyrics, commercials, DJs. If you hear any of that, or any of us hear any of that, we're like, oh my God, I just said Band-Aid. You know, whatever. Sorry, that's the first word that came to my head. But I got jokes too, ladies. This is going to be a fun night. But anything that comes up, I'm going to try to relate it. But if we do hear something that clear, it's going to be a 50-50 shot. I could relate it to the location of where we are. And then I'll give you the verifiable link of why it's relevant. I'm not just going to say, oh, Eliza Pinckney put on a Band-Aid, and that's why we heard that. I'm going to give you, like, here's why. Here's the link that gives you the data.
Oh, fantastic.
So, you have one button. It's a wheel right here at the top. It controls the volume. So, literally, as I'm telling stories, you're going to keep it down. It's already recording, so we don't have to worry about that. I am going to put an EMF meter just on my bag so we can have a point of reference. You should be somewhat relatively familiar with these from the TV shows. However, they never tell you how they work.
Yeah, that's true. They never did. No, they don't.
This is the most sensitive EMF meter on the market. It measures 3 different types of electromagnetic fields. The first one's natural. That's why it's not doing anything. It might go up to green every once in a while, just from the earth. The next one's going to be from our electronic devices, cell phones, parking meters, electrical wires. It's going to make it go into a pulse. We don't want that either. We really want this thing to kind of go erratic. We want it to go a little crazy. So what that means is it's unexplainable. And I'm still going to try to debunk it. Like, I'm not going to make things up and say, oh my God, we got somebody near us. And it literally has to be touching this thing. So most people say, do I have to shut my cell phone off? No, absolutely not. So it's not going to be touching it. It's just going to be hanging outside my bag if I have an extra pocket. So I've been bringing gloves with me just because it's been so chilly. So I got those shoved in a pocket. I have towels in here because it's been raining. We're going to go with this one. These are my hot hands. Those can go in the bag. I know, this bag is so packed, like I have to check it daily. I have spare batteries, and I have a giant case of batteries at home. You can imagine, wife works at Best Buy. I get it at wholesale. So And then I'm going to show you the device that I'm going to be using, and it's going to be on my phone. And the reason I'm going to use it is it's really a great point of reference and a tool to give us a direct relation of something that we may have heard versus something that is actual written for us.
Okay.
So it's a spirit box on my phone. The spirit box itself is going to give us a list of words right in the center of the screen right here, and then it's going to save them to a list. I don't know which tour this is from because I actually put this app on another phone and I've been handing that out as a tool.
Okay.
It's just so I can be a little bit more interactive with them. We're going to clear this out because whoever's list that is, they already have it. And you guys will get the full list.
Okay.
If a word is relevant, here's what I'm going to tell you. This thing was meant to be a game. Okay, it's meant to be a hoax.
Right.
80% of it's going to be bullshit. Pardon the French, but that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So we're not going to lie and try to make things up. The other 5 to 20%, you might have one term in here that's relevant. I've seen other ones where it's 50%. Like that Tuesday night. Like, it was crazy. I probably had a good 20 terms that were relevant.
Wow.
And I was posting, like, it took me forever because there was so many links to give them to prove it. But anyway, the 5 to 20%, I'll put it in bold and give you an explanation and a link in that explanation of why it's relevant. But I'm going to give you the full list. Why? Because there might be things in there relevant to you.
Okay.
I don't know that your cat's name is Radar and it said Cat Radar. And you brought somebody with you. Granddad's with you or whoever. And he's going to make note of your cat. I don't know those things. It happens all the time. At the end of the tour, you're going to have my card with all my info, my phone number, my email address. If you find extra stuff in any of your data, because I'm not going to go through it all.
Right.
I mean, you're recording almost 2 hours, and then everything here, plus the audio. So you got at least 5 hours.
Right.
We'll say minimum 5 hours.
Right.
I'm going to go through it for about 2.
Okay.
And hot spots. And then I'm going to give you a quick analysis, and the rest of it, I'm not going to take the fun away from you. You're going to do the work.
Okay.
So, and it's yours. You can just keep going back to it. You want to listen to it on your drive home or wherever you're going to, you can listen to that thing on the drive home is annoying. I'm just going to tell you. But you want to listen to the audio again? By all means, listen to it.
Okay, cool.
It happens all the time. So, we start here because it's haunted. This place used to... Have you ever been to Charleston before?
A long time ago.
Yeah.
I was too little. Yeah.
Too little. How little?
I was like itty bitty. I don't remember it.
How old are you now?
How old was I? Now?
Yeah.
I'm 28.
Well, that was a long time ago if you were a little bit.
Yeah. How old was I?
You were probably about 4 or 5.
Yeah. I was a munchkin.
Yeah.
Okay. You're a midget.
Yeah.
Little
It's been a
people.
while. Been a few minutes.
A few minutes. So, people try to guess my age all the time, especially if I tell them about my retail career of 21 years. And they're like,
right.
oh my God, how old is this guy? And I have kids almost as old as you.
What?
So,
No way.
yeah. So, pretty close.
Wow.
But anyway, we'll take that for what it's worth.
Gee.
Stay out of the sun. That's the key.
I know.
So I have epilepsy. I literally cannot see in direct sunlight. So I have sunglasses all the time, and they have to be like that reflective, whatever, because I literally can't see. Like everything turns white for me.
Yeah.
So again, even masks, like this is a hard time. Like I've been doing better.
Yeah.
But normally I have to take a break by now. Like I have to take it off and take a step back.
Right.
Yeah.
But like at first, I was cancel tours because I was gagging just from the thought of it.
Yeah.
Like, it was bad.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So look at that, important. So that's how words are going to pop up.
Okay.
And then from time to time, I'll check the list, but I try to keep it on this page at all times just because the longer we leave it on, the more words we're going to get.
Right. Okay.
So, Big John's. So this place back in the 1970s, this was a bar called Big John's named after a football player, Big John Kennedy, from the 1947 New York Giants. He's from Charleston. But he used to sit in the back of the bar, and he would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel, which is about 1.5 miles, 2 miles from here,
Right.
they would come over after training, have a few drinks, because this was the watering hole. He would tell the bartender if they were of age or not. If they weren't, he'd tell them, get these guys out of here. One night, 2 guys come in. Big John knows they're not of age. He tells the bartender, get these idiots out of here. So they get pissed, they leave. The next night, they come back to try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's happening. It, of course, turns into a bar fight. Big John's beating the hell out of these guys, pounding them into the floor. A couple of shots were fired. John gets shot in the neck, and it ricochets and lands in the wall. So that John continues beating these guys up, and gets up, and goes back to the bar, and he tells the bartender, get me another beer, go get them guys an ambulance. Now, nobody died in that story. So what's haunting the place? It's the bullet hole. It ricocheted and landed in the wall. It has John's blood on it. It's supposed to be his bar. So people that sit in the front of the bar, and it's the only place I've ever gotten EMF from, is in the front, inside this window. And I've been in here dozens of times, and I never get anything. Every once in a while I get something by this window. But they'll get a little queasy, nauseous, headaches, dizziness, those kind of things. I bring the story up on purpose, and another reason why I start here. I don't know how paranormal activity is going to affect you. I don't say this to scare you, but if you get a headache, you start to feel any of those symptoms, I need to know immediately. speak up for the other person. It's a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've had people pass out. I've had psychics say, no, I'm out. I'm done. Like, it's just too much. So, if that tells you how much activity we're hopefully going to incur,
Yeah.
hopefully we won't catch up to it. Oh, look at that. I got the word cold. I'm getting all kinds of things.
Oh.
So, let's get our minds off our own health. We had a big earthquake here in 1886. It's a big one for Charleston because we don't get earthquakes.
Yeah.
So, allegedly, this is where the first death occurred. So, a piece of the mantling is also in the front of the building. Earthquake shaked it a little bit,
Yeah.
broke a piece of that mantling off, struck somebody in the head. And the old bar owner used to see ghosts out here after closing. Used to see kind of shadows hanging out on East Bay Street. So that's a legend and lore. I will bring up that term a lot, legend and lore. So if it's something that I can kind of prove but not really sure about all the details, I'll say it's legend and lore.
Okay.
So, but that's something, we're liberal.
What is it?
Liberal. So all along. So it's just spitting out all kinds of things. So I always look for numbers here just because jersey numbers usually don't lie. And especially if I get a name and a jersey number, I can match it up.
Gotcha.
So I don't get excited with over one term. I usually need something else to match up with it. Is the EMF going off at that time? Did I get another phrase from, this spirit box? Did it say all along I played football? Those kind of things.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I got to look into it.
Okay.
So is this what you guys thought you were getting yourselves into?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm
Good.
excited.
Some people come in and like, I really just wanted to hear some stories. I
No. We
were
wanted to
looking,
do
We were
this.
looking for the opposite. We don't want just stories.
Yeah.
All right.
This is good.
Let's go teach you some more about your license.
Okay.
Oh, the last group, they emptied my bag. Well, you guys didn't. Go ahead here. That'd be pretty good. Lots of fun. I just gotta finish this damn book so I can finish my schooling. I'm a little behind. I'm about 20,000 words behind. So when you're turning Atlantis into part of the afterlife, it's a big deal. There's a lot of research I do. So parking lots are our favorite thing on this tour, only because I can be close to historical buildings and you're going to see a lot of parking lots. Now this is not a sightseeing tour, so if you're expecting sights, I'm sorry, but ghost hunting gets dirty. This is what I call the Red Barn Lot. This is where we keep the horses for the carriage rides.
Yes.
The horses are still in there, so your spirit box is going to be audible to us only. This is not a loud spirit box area, especially up close up there. None of us have the lasers. I didn't bring those out because they don't record anything. Yes, I use lasers too. This whole bag is filled with Santa Claus gadgets. So the only history I have here is that this is the same Red Barn that delivered the horses that delivered milk to Charleston.
Okay.
So the reason why I bring people here next is because it's a great practice area. That's all I have. Whenever I'm giving a story or any kind of piece of history, I'm going to emphasize certain words. This is delivery milk Charleston. Now also you have to remember when the horses delivered milk to doorsteps, there was also eggs involved. So that was something I had to look up because an EVP came up that said protein and eggs. In one night, I'm like, I wonder if they did deliver eggs. Lo and behold, they delivered eggs too.
Oh.
So your practice area is pretty simple. We're going to work with the spirit box, but we're going to teach you how to use it properly, not the TV style.
Okay.
So this is not TV, obviously.
Right.
This is not, is somebody here?
Right.
That's a yes or no question.
Right.
First off, if somebody says no, that means somebody's here.
Yeah.
So they
It's a
answered
lying
you.
ghost.
It's a lying ghost, and it could be deceitful.
Right.
We don't go after malevolence here. That's not
Okay.
that's not what we're doing.
Okay.
So we're going to ask questions that we know the answers to, kind of a suggestive thought, just so you get used to listening to it. We can all agree that the barn is red, right? What color is the barn? You're going to listen for about 30 seconds or so. Listen for the color red.
Okay.
Your spirit box is slowed down. During Christmas time, this is just a perfect example. What color is the barn? Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I have the word red in there.
Yeah.
They gave me the right term. I don't need Rudolph the and reindeer. I need red, which is what we got.
Okay.
So you might get some words before and after it. In the event you try 2, 3, 4 tries of the same question and you don't get an answer, we're going to open it up a little bit. What's inside the barn? Animals, horses, draft horses, because that's their breed,
Right.
carriages, milk, calcium, eggs, protein, huevos, whatever language they want to speak to us. So again, that's where it opens up when we start putting the clues together. But that
Okay.
red question is specific. I'll be honest. A few weeks ago, I had one gentleman on my tour. I told him I did everything. I was trying to give away tickets so this guy wasn't alone, and I can have more gadgets for him, because this is all about the devices.
Right.
So I mean, I'm carrying stuff. I got stuffed in my pockets, and we thought we heard. I mean, it was a direct red. Like, we both heard it, and we were like, okay, we know how to use this device. Let's go to the next location. I listened to it the next morning. It was the word God, not red. Do you see how that can be deceitful?
Oh, yeah.
That's why we don't use yes or no.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
S and O in English language,
Yes.
two of the most common sounds we have. So, now that we've got it just on a spirit box, let's talk about you. So, for
Okay.
example, I want you to point your camera at that wall and tell me what you see.
Red.
Mainly red.
Yep.
Keep it there. What happens when I get in the picture?
Orange.
Now, what happens to the wall?
Oh, turns blue because you're taking the heat.
Right, I'm
You're
the
the
base
heat.
now. My skin
Right.
is the base. I'm the warmest thing out here, right? So
Right.
what I normally tell people, especially in my groups of 10, try to keep somebody in shot at all times. Now,
Oh, that makes sense.
because it's a good base. So let me show
Okay.
you this video real quick of something I actually caught with that. Let me find it. No, not Chris Ramsey. So when you keep somebody in view at all times, it gives the camera something to make sure, because it starts with every degree of color, it's like 5 degrees in temperature. So there's a lot of science that goes behind it, but when you see somebody in orange, this is our next location that we're going to go to.
Okay.
Find it. So this is a wall, all this orange. There's going to be 2 living people right there. Do you see them?
Yes.
Because they're orange?
Yeah.
So there's our base, and then we have all these people around, but you're going to see 2 dead people. 1, 2.
Oh, goodness.
my gosh.
This guy was in view the whole time. So there's like a 20+ degree difference, because that guy was black. Like,
Yeah.
black is the coldest thing on there. Black, cold, white, hot.
Yeah.
Right.
So again, yellow is warm too. So it kind of goes down the line. White, yellow, orange, kind of thing.
Right.
So Holden Stins, I love these guys. You ever watch them? They are hysterical. So
Yeah.
this guy and his wife, they used to be producers, and he's just making all these COVID videos and making up songs and
Yeah.
parodies. Me and my wife put him up on the TV. We watch him that way. Look at his mustache. He's awesome. But anyway, sorry. Oh, look at that, hunger. What else we get before that? Step all along and unlock. That's interesting. So again, even if you don't see anything tonight, it's fine. I'm going to watch it in hotspots
Okay.
in the morning, and then you're going to have the full video to review it anyway. So I usually go, there's a lot that usually goes into this guy, and then I have to listen to that. I will spend probably 30 minutes on that guy. So I kind of like move it along, like, okay, I know we were at the Red Barn lot at this point. I know that we were at Pinckney Mansion on this point, so that's kind of where I move it along.
Okay.
So
Okay.
let's turn that up a little bit, and let's see what we can capture. Where's the EMF? Where are we at with that? Look at that.
Oh. Oh.
So sometimes this guy won't do anything in this lot until I leave. Almost kind of like, hey, I do have something to say. Wait. But yeah, and we're standing over a sewer line. So there's no reason. There's no electrical lines touching it.
Right.
The buildings are too far away from me to be able to influence it. Like, I don't see a pattern in that other than a little bit of a blip. If I
Right.
timed it, there might be something, but
Right.
something's hanging out.
Cool.
Neato.
Ask your question. Let's get that color of that barn out of there. This is all about you. I'm not working.
What color is the barn?
Let me turn up just a hair. We're away from the horses. There you go.
Do we keep asking?
I usually wait just a few seconds. 30 seconds is a long time. People don't really realize that. Trust me, I hear the audio and they're, what color is the barn? Can you tell me what kind of horses those are? What color was your hair? Like, they're just going on and on and on and on. If somebody's actually here with us, tell us what color the barn is. Maybe it's telling us through that.
Yeah. Keeps going on, right? Look at that.
It keeps going to red.
Yeah.
And all the devices in my bag are off, just so you know. Place.
Did you feel
Oh,
some-
was that you?
No. You touched over here.
It felt like okay.
And it said magnet.
I'm not even.
We missed it.
Magnet.
It
magnetic
felt like
field.
you went like-
Oh.
I thought you were nudging me closer. That was
No,
weird.
no. I saw Elizabeth. She turned this way, and then I went
could've
like
been-
this.
Huh, that was weird.
That is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt like you like pushed me closer.
No.
That was weird.
No.
Let's move on to another question, because I'm kind of taking that as magnet
Yeah.
for us to kind of take a look, because we'll get direction, like come up here, look,
Right.
look right,
Right.
you know, that kind of thing. Like we get it all the time.
Okay.
So if somebody's here and you played with Big John, tell us what your jersey number was. Numbers don't lie. Stick. There was one team player that used to play hockey. I know that. I'm not a sports guy. I have to find this stuff out. So if I get hockey up here, we want a number. Lonely. Did you hear that?
Yeah. Numbers.
Yep.
I like numbers.
They were afraid.
They were afraid.
Oh.
And sometimes I just continue the conversation. What were you afraid of?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
plants. That's actually relevant to our next location, which is really close. Little blues traveler for you. Sorry, am I showing my age again?
Best bonus content.
So I want you to imagine listening to that to headphones every morning with your first cup of
goodness.
coffee.
Oh,
Oh my
goodness.
gosh.
All right, do we have the gist of how these devices work?
Yep.
Do we want to learn
Yep.
some real history?
Yeah.
Let's do this. Go ahead and turn that down.
That's funny. I did not touch your shoulder.
That was weird though.
That was weird.
One time.
I thought you were trying to nudge me like into the view of the.
No,
the
no. I
camera.
saw you turning this way.
Weird.
Elizabeth went into our neighbor's house who had just passed away. And she got to the threshold and felt faint. She had to leave.
Yeah,
Not surprising.
that was pretty scary.
Yeah.
Not scary, but just like.
Yeah.
So you have to keep in mind the amount of people I see from where they come from. I get people from all over the world, especially from when the cruise ships are coming into.
Yes.
And there are times where people will bring spirits with them.
Right.
And that's, I mean, I've had tours that it didn't matter what story I told. It was all about whatever spirit they brought. We're going to make it right, right?
Okay.
I know, another parking lot. All the sites I give you. Let's go over here a little bit because a lot of people race in and out. That's the only way in and out of here. So, but I actually have little satchels on here. You probably see them. They're filled with stones that were blessed from some psychic friends of mine. I'm not a religious person, so my wife called. Nick's bringing stuff home. You gotta remember, I have epilepsy. I'm the weak-minded one, no matter what group I have. So they're attaching to me
Yeah.
because I'm the guy with the devices. They're
Right.
seeing all the technology, and I'm
Right.
taking them home. So I mean, if I get to my car and I can't drive yet, it's not a good deal. Like it's happened quite a few times.
Yeah.
So
What did it say?
cancer.
Oh.
It's relevant, and I'm going to tell you why. So we're standing in the Eliza and Charles Pinckney mansion site. So their mansion used to be in the front of this lot, facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden, filled with plants, was over here and came all the way across. You see, we're still relatively close,
Right.
and we're standing where the slave and servant quarters would have been. So why is this place so relevant? If I were to actually have a grand finale, this would be it. I get this much activity here. The video I showed you came from up there.
Okay.
I have an EVP session from last May where your spirit box did Outfix You. I was using, I've never seen that before. I use a reverse spirit box, which basically is a loop of words being said backwards. So it's kind of like an audio, and then they just flip the audio through technology. And I figured out what it was. So, but in this lot, they said baked beans breakfast, clear as day. Didn't know what it meant. And then the word tea shows up on my list. I'll fix you baked beans breakfast and tea.
Oh my goodness.
Now,
Oh, I just got the chills.
Eliza Pinckney's from England. That's a breakfast in
Tea.
England.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was perfectly relevant. And I had no
Right.
idea. My guest told me what baked beans breakfast was. So
Yeah.
Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles, so there's a second one, and then they had a nephew named Charles.
Oh.
So the son and the nephew, signers of the Constitution. Honest, the son was raised here. So, no, nobody ever talks about this site. They've never done an archaeological dig here. I don't like to talk about politics, so we just had an election. So we're going to talk about Eliza, because Eliza was really freaking cool for the time. We're talking colonial times, 1750s to 1770s roughly. So she married Charles at a young age because her dad was dying in England. He wanted all his kids home, and she didn't want to go. She didn't believe he was dying. So she didn't go. She got married instead. It didn't give her citizenship because that wasn't a thing yet, but it pretty much solidified she's not moving.
Right.
So with that said, she was right. Dad didn't die. So they start sending over wedding gifts from England. One of those gifts happened to be the plant indigo. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye, that makes our blue jeans blue. That's why we still use it today. Sorry, you look very young to me. I think I have to explain things. So, especially when I get kids, they're like, "What the hell is indigo?"
Yeah.
You know. But at the same time, indigo helped save Charleston because our rice plantations were going downhill. And keep in mind, indigo already had a culture here because our slaves were part of the Gullah culture in Africa. We brought them here. So her slaves and servants knew how to cultivate this plant in our very weird temperatures and keep it going. So once she experimented and learned from them, she moved it over to Mount Pleasant to Snee Farm and turned it into a huge cash crop. Now that saved Charleston and kind of helped things out, but it went even further. She used her dad's contacts overseas and started selling it internationally. So think about all of your Port Royal coats and all the colors that the Queen wore. They're all blue or purple. They all came from indigo. Indigo was expensive. So again, she did not only just save Charleston, she saved the colonies, which there was only 13.
Right.
And her husband was a governor. So you can imagine the ties that she had to be able to do this. And this is colonial times, no such thing as a businesswoman. By the way, this is Women's History Month. If y'all didn't know that, I've actually been really priding myself because this is a lot of women's history throughout the tour on social media. Like, come on, 75%. We got PM, so something happened in the evening. We're going to tickle somebody in the evening. So we have the word plants, which is obviously relevant, but there's a couple of weird facts about Eliza that we're going to ask on a spirit box that you don't know the answers to.
Okay.
First off, you can ask how she died. Cancer. We already got that.
Okay.
So, and normally that's a question I say, go ahead and ask how she died. Now, we're talking colonial times.
Right.
1793, I think is the year she died. So we're talking, we don't know if it was truly cancer. We're going off of medical records based on those descriptions. So cancer wasn't a thing yet. So that's, depending on what article you read or what book you're reading, it says breast cancer. So we're going to ask anything we want to about Eliza's death. She's pretty open about it.
Okay.
How old she was when she died, where did she die, how did she, well, we got the how, and where is she buried, but which U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral? We're going to ask that question too and hopefully get that answer.
Cool.
So, yeah, she was a pretty prominent lady. Now, weird thing about Eliza, she was the second wife named Eliza from Charles, back to back. Both Elizas go by their maiden name, and they both start with L. Now, the cool thing is on my last tour, the woman came up to me and said, I just heard and felt this name, and it's a name that you wouldn't think would be a last name or a maiden name. And she was correct. So, take that for what it's worth. You can actually go back and listen to the audio for the 7 o'clock tour, because it'll be on your page too.
Okay.
And kind of see what happened there.
Okay.
And it's, again, not a name you would think it is. They both start with L. Let's see, you can ask what happened to the mansion. Anything, relevant to that. And I'm going to ask that we stay away from the kids. There's a tragedy in there.
Okay.
Once you start poking at the tragedy, activity stops throughout the night. Like, it's that powerful. Like, if she wants to talk about it, because sometimes she'll bring it up, let her talk about it.
Okay.
So, let me see where the EMF is, because this EMF is going crazy. So, just depending on where we are. And this lot has let me down in the 2 years I've been doing this, maybe 4 times. Where I walked in, no EMF, no anything. Nothing came out of it. I got Warrior again. Warrior came up on the last group too. Junk. Interesting. My light's not blinking. There's a light on the back of that building. It's blinking pretty weak right now. I can't really see it. It's to the right of the big bright light.
Oh,
I see it. Yes.
So when that it changes every night. It's just a weak light. So whenever there's a lot of things going on here, that will pulse and give us little flashes, and it's in a weird rhythm. It's usually in a rhythm of the EMF. Like you can hold this up like a selfie and film it, and it'll be within 2 frames. It's kind of like a pulse here, then a pulse there.
Yeah.
So it's like bing, 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 bing. Like it's literally like something you can videotape. But it's not happening tonight. What's inside the barn? Hey, we'll take it. It's kind of a weak stretch, but
Right.
we're gonna take it. We did get plants while we were over there. They're kind of crisscrossing, hanging out together.
Yep.
So what do you want to know first? And you're gonna direct her directly. Hey, Eliza, tell us this.
Hey, Eliza, what happened to the house? Or your house?
Seven.
7. We were looking for numbers.
Yeah.
That's somewhat relevant. There's a stress. The word power. Power showed up here. There's always a theme, so
Prices you can count on shops.
count on it. And if you hear my name come through in this location, it's not surprising. Because I get
Oh,
hi Nick or
good
hello
for
Nick
me, yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Legs. Satan.
Cheerful.
That's the 80% bullshit. I actually had the F-bomb show up on this. So, funny story. Keep in mind, like, I'm 6 to 106 on this tour. Like, that's the age group.
Right.
I literally had a team. They were all over the age of 70. Like, every one of them. So I'm trying to be prim and proper and do the
Right.
proper thing, and
Right.
and all of a sudden the F-bomb comes up, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And they all like, what? I'm like, oh, now I gotta show them. So I show them, and of course I erased it.
Right.
Because it's just a copy-pasted list.
Yeah.
When I give it to you, I just
Right.
erased it out of their list. Steven doesn't mean anything to me, but I am gonna take legs. White Steven. Legs makes sense because one of the sons was in a war and was shot in the leg, in the kneecap, during the Battle of Camden. So
Okay.
I've gotten the word kneecap here before too. That's how I learned about it.
Right.
And Camden showed up on one of these too. So I was like, what the hell is Camden? Like, that's not even a name. Look up Camden Pinckney. Thomas Pinckney led the Battle of Camden. Okay, there it is.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Spark. What happened to the house?
Did it
Went
catch
up in
on fire?
flame.
Fire.
How about that?
Big fire of well, we call it the Great Fire of 1861. Everything in Charleston is the Great Fire of whatever year it occurred.
Right.
Because there was dozens of them.
Okay.
So the house, it did not occur specifically intentionally to this house. It just swept through this part. There are no pictures of the house other than after the fire. Very interesting. There is a description of the floor plans in a book written by the daughter who interviewed a family friend. And that's the only description there is. Why do I know all of this stupid knowledge about this house? Because the goal for Stories in a Cemetery is to have a store where I sell ghost hunting equipment, books on the paranormal, and have a haunted hotel upstairs where everybody gets a kit. Like,
Right.
that's the goal.
Right.
The wife, she's in photography, she'll do your thrill ride photo, it'll be a thing. We thought about buying this and building the old Pinckney Mansion site. And still calling it Stories in a Cemetery, but trying to contact Eliza Pinckney in the haunted hotel upstairs. Do I know what that entails? Probably about $25 million.
Yeah.
Because I want an archaeological dig done.
Yeah.
So that's
That
$5
would be
million right off the
interesting.
top. Like, to get the right archaeologists here. And I have archaeologist friends that'll probably do it for a good couple of million.
Yeah.
So dig this up, excavate it, give me the artifacts for obviously my museum,
Yeah.
and get everything going. But yeah, that's the lifelong goal.
That would be awesome.
Do I have other places in mind? Big John's is a great spot. Has apartments upstairs.
Yeah.
There's another location I'll show you along the way. And mind you, this is recording the whole way. I'm not ignoring the fact that this is still running.
Right.
But yeah, I love to tell my lifelong dream because in 5 years, I will have a store.
Yeah.
Like, that's the goal.
Awesome.
I've already got 3 other ghost hunters that work for TAPS. I'm sure you're familiar with that name.
Yep. Yep.
So that they are ready to go, like to do the tours. I'd have to teach them the history, of course, and how to manage a crowd. So that's kind of the big thing. They know the tools, but they
Right.
don't know the skills that I have to be able to do this for
Right.
you guys to have a good time. But yeah, it's a training thing, and my wife and I have both worked in retail long enough where we know how to run a P&L. It's not hard. I mean, we're obviously profitable with this. We know where our money's at. We know where it's going.
That's good.
And we got the word animal, by the way.
Animal barn.
The barn.
Yep.
We're getting a lot about that damn barn.
We'll have to come back in 5 years.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me. Like, you're going to see billboards all over the place.
Okay.
Right now, when I ask you where you're traveling from, I'm keeping track of the demographics of the United States of where y'all are coming from.
Uh-huh.
So I know where my advertising goes.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
So again, I'm that guy. So I have man-made charts, Excel worksheets. They all work together. Oh, you're from North Carolina? There's another tick for North Carolina.
Right.
And then it's all going towards, like, what's it doing for 2021? Where am I at so far? So far, Georgia's winning. I get a lot from Georgia. Charlotte, I think I toured the whole city. Like, everybody's come down to see me from Charlotte.
Oh.
So again, if I were to
Very
actually look
cool,
at, I
yeah.
started this just for 2021 because obviously I took over the business. Participant. But yeah, I run my own P&L. I gotta pay taxes just like everybody else.
Yeah.
So I gotta keep track of all that stuff. What else do you want to know? Sorry, I kind of overtook your.
How old were you, Eliza, when you passed away?
Oh, good question. It wasn't food. Eliza, can you tell us how old you were when you died? I don't care which box you use. Take the blue light or the red light. You'll notice too, I don't use the name of the device. I won't say device,
Right.
gadget, gizmo.
They don't know.
It's Colonial Times. It's a
Right,
box with
yeah.
a blue light.
They don't
Right.
know.
Exactly.
So Zach Bagans, please come to the spirit box.
Yeah.
Or the
Yeah,
REM.
we-
Come to this REM pod.
That
Like, what the
always,
hell are
like,
you talking
confused
about?
me. They're probably like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, it cracks. And my daughter, she catches all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like my youngest, because
Yeah.
we go through all that just to make fun of them. I heard Miami and California within the past 2 minutes. None of it's relevant. It's just weird that they're talking about sunny cities, sunny places. I'm trying to figure out what the lyric was to that Nirvana song. It's Mary.
Cool.
The Weasel. Eliza, what's this G on the box that I'm holding? Who's that for? And you have to imagine too, when I have 10 people, this whole lot is
Yeah.
just littered with people,
Right.
all doing the same thing
Right.
we're doing right now. Position, hat. I caught a shadow figure here wearing a very specific, like, derby hat. So, in Chicago,
Yeah.
Superior. We're getting a lot of terms now. We're gonna give it another minute before I give you all the answers.
Okay.
I'm not gonna leave you hanging.
Avenue, Forest 3 to 1 shift.
3 to 11 shift. Team's got me talking tonight. That last group had me talking a lot too.
Yeah.
They were a team of 10, and they were all quiet. Not all of them. Alright, let's go ahead and turn that down since nothing else seems to be popping up. So Eliza died at the age of 70 from breast cancer, as I said
Right.
before, in Philadelphia, which is also where she's buried. and it was George Washington that was the pallbearer at her funeral. We did get the letter G.
Yeah.
Oh, gee.
Now,
Oh, gee.
Gee whiz.
The OG.
Yeah, the OG, right?
OG.
The definite OG on this one. And the funny thing is I didn't even know that until a few months ago. I got the EVP George Washington full phrase twice in 1 week. I'm like, there's got to be a relevance here.
Yeah.
So of course, George Washington Pinckney, he's a pallbearer. Not to mention, her husband was a governor. There was only 13 colonies. Washington was pretty close with his governors. He actually spent a lot of time in Charleston. There's a whole big thing on it. He spent like 10 days here. So, and the Pinckneys actually were part of his entertainment. So she would have maybe baked him baked beans for breakfast. So it would have been another thing too. I don't know that for sure, and I actually tried to look to see what she served, or you know, her people served anything. But all I know is that they kind of hosted dinners and things like that for him. The house burnt down in a great fire of 1861, as I said. Let's see what else. There was an infant child that did not make it. We don't know if the baby was days old or weeks old, because the epitaph basically just has, you know, the same month as birth and death.
Right.
So I don't know how old the baby was, but they did name the baby George after her father.
Oh,
Her father's name was George.
Okay.
Thomas Pinckney did a lot too. He was an ambassador. He led the Battle of Camden. Obviously, Charles Cotesworth signed the Constitution. He eventually became governor. Like there was a lot going on with the Pinckneys, and we started at the corner of Pinckney and East Bay Street.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes on with the Pinckneys. We have the Indigo Inn. We have Indigo Hotel. We have all kinds of things around here wrapped around Indigo as well. So now, whenever you go in to visit these other places, you're going to remember all the weird stuff that I told you. So,
Okay.
what else did I ask you guys to ask? I think that about covers it. But the Philadelphia thing too kind of goes to show why I don't take people to cemeteries. People get a misnomer by the name of the tour.
Yeah.
Charleston's one giant cemetery. We've had so many damn tragedies
right,
here between the fires and the wars and the deaths and famine and everything else. But people want to go through a cemetery, and I'm like, if you're dead, are you going to hang out where you're buried? Probably not. You're going to come all the way from Philadelphia. You know, how many miles is that? 350? Come 350 miles, and you're going to come hang out where your mansion was. Pretty sure.
Always
So-
go back to their favorite place.
Right. So again, got brother. I don't know that there was a brother. Never came up before. But I like G. That's pretty significant. I've had George Washington come up on here and there. Pretty crazy stuff. So we're gonna walk now up to the next haunted location. This is obviously something that's probably still going crazy in my bag. This will go nuts over on East Bay Street because of the parking meters. Our electrical lines for that and the crosswalks are underneath the sidewalks.
Yeah.
So it's strong enough to make this thing go off.
Okay.
So we can pretty much ignore this. Obviously keep filming. We're going to be chatting. That's recording, so you don't necessarily have to listen to it. But we're going to go to Lodge Alley. So what I'm listening for from here to there during this time frame, tomorrow morning obviously, are names. And I'll tell you why once we get there. But along the way, we can just chit chat. You guys can ask me a million questions or do whatever you want to do. You doing okay with that camera?
Oh, yeah.
I see your hands kind of fumbling.
I'm going to put my glove on.
Be careful, this ground's uneven. You got somewhat of a heel on it here.
We've noticed the sidewalks are so bad.
Oh yeah, and they won't be.
Why?
Most of them are original.
Oh.
And you have to remember underneath most of our, I'll show you a place too where they did some renovations to a restaurant. Watch this, you step up, and then 3 down, and there's another trip on the threshold. You walk this 6 nights a week.
You learn?
Renovations on the opposite side of where we are now. Down just like slightly north of Broad. We call it Snob. Slightly north of Broad. So they did they found some of the original Charlestown wall underneath it.
Oh.
Yep. So of course, what did we do? We cemented right back over top of it to leave it there.
Yep.
Let it stay preserved. Keep up a lot with some of the things that we're finding and all the different historical things with our monuments. Like we just had a time capsule come out of the Francis Marion Monument that was torn down by BLM.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah, we heard about that.
the time capsule, it was open last week. They did find like 3 tin boxes. One of them was pretty big. We don't know what's in there yet. They did find the cannonball from the Revolutionary War. It was obviously kind of eroded.
Right.
It was only a 2-pound ball, and they were able to identify it pretty quickly when I pulled it out. It wasn't in a box. There's another like scroll type box, like a tin that looks like it was smashed down to preserve the letterhead that was in there. And then there's another small tin with the lock of Calhoun's hair.
Wow.
Yeah, you know Our boy Washington right there.
Oh yeah.
So I'm pretty proud of the fact that he spent a lot of time there. Start diving into specific things. Somebody told me you can actually, my last tour, they told me you can walk Washington's house and go right through state. Like really? In Virginia?
Yeah. Mount Vernon.
I didn't know you could do that.
Hands up!
How long have you guys done it for?
About 4 days. Just got here today.
So how many other tours are you doing?
We're doing the Hunley's.
The Hunley, yes.
Yeah.
That's got to be.
I haven't done that one yet.
I was going to say that has to be. Has some activity for sure. Yes.
That's something to go to after you're done there. And Magnolia Cemetery is the biggest cemetery in South Carolina. So, believe it or not, that one actually is mine. I will say I get a ton of activity there. So, it's pretty active. I don't have all the stories of all the people that are buried there. There's thousands of them. So it's hard to, pinpoint it down to a... so what other tours? Just the Hunley?
That's all that we have on our radar right now.
Okay.
What do you suggest?
So if you're looking for like another ghost tour, I have one tour guide friend. He called me because of my investigation of the Old Provost. But the places that I recommend, Old Provost and Jail, definitely check out the Power Magazine. We're going to take a look at that at the very end of our tour here. He runs a tour called Teasing Terrors. I haven't taken it. Listening to his podcast, he's an amazing storyteller. So his name is Mike Brown. Very well known here in Omaha. Right now. Watch your step. You guys actually got heels on, or those like just big
Just any big
Wedges.
deal. I swear, these are. I've worn some less comfortable sneakers before. These are quite comfy.
This is Lodge Alley. The cool thing about such a small group is I can kind of give you the history as we keep walking. This yellow building is Lodge Alley Inn. Every hotel has a claim of a ghost. None of them give me free rooms to verify. So hopefully I'll start getting into the hotel part of my podcast this year. But this is actually one of the first streets of Charleston. When we crossed past the market, that was Cumberland Street. That was where the Charlestown Wall started. So this is one of our first streets.
Oh.
People used to live here. These two buildings that we're walking in between were
Yes.
here. We had little shotgun houses here. I have the full list of residents of every person that's ever lived here, along with their occupation. So I usually listen for names during this time frame. The names I normally get are Benjamin and John. Now the interesting thing about that, there were 4 different Johns that lived here, but Benjamin and John together were 2 out of the 5 residents in 1801. So when I get those 2 common, like probably once a month, it makes sense. So I do get weird things down here. When I have a camera, so somebody has my camera out and they take pictures, there's usually a light anomaly somewhere. I have some video of some little weird things kind of wisping away, and I have all kinds of things down here. The Masons also used to meet down here, so that was before it was a resident area. So just a very interesting place, and you're in Charleston. You got to see kind of old bricks and cobblestones the way we see them. These are all handmade clay, and they're all hand laid. So the people that used to live down here, they were considered lower class. Now you guys, you're North Carolinians, so you know the smell of low tide, I'm sure. Charleston wasn't the way it is now. All the edge stuff is all man-made stuff. So back in the 1800s, those buildings wouldn't have been there.
Right.
Small
Right.
low tide would have swept through here all the time. So they did do an archaeological dig back in '93, I think it was, and they found some of their tools and silverware, little pieces of their clothing, all kinds of
Oh.
things. They found out that there were some fires down here. The report is giant. It's like 75 pages.
Wow.
So they found so much stuff down here. But it's an interesting place. We never know what we're going to capture. Not to mention, as we walk through here, there's a great view of St. Philip's Steeple. So a lot of people like to stop and take pictures there. As we get to the end of this alley, it is residential. Tour guides are not allowed to be tour guides in residential areas.
Right.
So we're just going to be 3 people passing through with a bunch of really cool gadgets
Okay.
until we get to our next spot.
Okay. Okay.
I just like to give, oh, look at that. It's the district.
It's, oh,
Moving into the French district, but this would have been all residential back in the day, too.
right. Well, that is really that's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
So just to be able to have these sites like this on your job. is-
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? And then there's some nights the moon is right next to it. Of course, I use those
Oh.
for social media. You know, it's, oh, that's perfect. I gave it to the wife, clean this up.
It reminds me of Washington.
It's a little angly. Yeah, that's all Lodge Alley, and then there's the courtyard, the Lodge Alley Inn up here. So these are hotels, and we just kind of came through and seen the back end.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, room 304 in here is allegedly haunted. I've had their salespeople on my group, and I usually make fun like nobody's gonna give me a free room. And he's just like, just call us. I'm like,
There
what?
you go.
They're like, we work here. I'm like, get out of town. And then of course they moved to another, because this is a blue-green property. That means it's timeshare. So,
Right.
of course, they shipped them out as soon as I tried to call them to get a free room, and I had a free weekend. But my investigations in a hotel are usually like Ouija boards and get my tarot cards out. All the equipment's running. Daughter's involved. The wife is involved. Like, everybody's on board. Alley we're about to come up on, this is Philadelphia Alley. I'm not allowed to take you down there because it's residential, but it is the most beautiful place that we have in Charleston,
Okay.
day or night. It used to be part of my tour, but now we have a new neighbor. So we're not allowed to go down there.
Oh, that's beautiful.
There's a mansion at the end of it, and there's old slave handprints in the bricks from these sun-dried bricks that you see. And I used to show them off because I get a very diverse crowd.
Right, right,
And the fact that I can talk about slavery openly, people are usually like, okay,
right.
he's hip, let's do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, not allowed to go down there. I'm trying to reroute everything, so you're going to get a bunch of all the news stories I'm telling. So this is in the more popular area. It's later, so for Charleston, this is late and cold. My 7 o'clock tour was booked. Solid, and then you guys came through, and I'm like, okay, I guess I got you first tonight. So I usually expect on a Friday night the 7 o'clock's going to fill up before the 9 o'clock. So we might not run into people, but if we do, you're going to see how large these groups are. There's some nights, like I know some of these, like I know the faces because I see them every night. And it's like some nights my group is larger than theirs. I'm like, what are they doing? Because they work for the big companies.
Ah.
Like, I'm taking them out. Get these people tools. Get them engaged. Part of the Legends and Lore portion. So if we get things of popular spirit boxes and things like that tomorrow morning, if it's relevant, then obviously it'll be relevant. Do I expect anything? Depends on the story. What I do want to point out is, you guys see that wall back there? That's Philadelphia Alley. So the doorway that you see that used to be called Duels Alley. So all of the duels in Charleston used to occur there. So when there was a death, the dead guy would come through the courtyard and go up to the cemetery where they would drop the body and go celebrate the winner. I call that the Death Gate. No other tour guide's going to show you that. I don't remember where I found that fun fact, but I grabbed it and I run with it. So it's a great little, like, check out that door where the dead guy came through.
That's gorgeous.
Remember I told you about the big earthquake?
Yes.
That steeple is slightly off.
Oh.
You can't see it, but it is.
Oh. Looks like the gate is.
So, oh, sorry, picture time.
I just thought it looked kind of
Take a
cool
drink
stuff.
real quick and just let I got the word broken. That's interesting. Japanese and broken. So I usually stop here just for a brief minute because every tour stops here and I let them have it because it's just a quick little legend. There's a sign right here. It says the only ghost at St. Philip's is the Holy Ghost. That's because they don't want guys like me investigating what actually happened here. So, 1888, young lady named Sue Howard Hardy died 6 days after her stillborn child.
Oh.
Obviously, we don't know what the complications were.
Right.
But 1987, we have a local photographer. He's taking pictures of cemeteries. I don't know what he's putting together, but it's a new project. He captures a full apparition of a woman wearing a shawl, kneeling on over those two graves with a baby basket next to her.
Oh.
It's 1987. There's no cell phones, no Photoshop. He sends it to Kodak to try to get it debunked. Can't debunk the picture. I would gladly show you this picture, but it is cursed. You can imagine I'm very superstitious. So, women that hold the picture will start to feel the same symptoms I told you about at Big John's. Dizziness, nauseous, headache, those kind of things.
Right.
Females that are pregnant holding the picture will not have a good pregnancy. I'm not getting a phone call 9 months from now. So,
Hey, this oven's shut down.
I'm just saying. It's just one of those things, if you want to look it up, and I got the word secret. Interesting. So, there's a couple of, like, people would take pictures of this place all the time. I get all kinds of orbs and weird things. My wife, her day job is she works for Best Buy, and she's the mobile manager, which means she knows every damn cell phone camera known to man. So, if you take a picture with your phone and say, can you tell me what this is? I'm going to ask you, what kind of phone do you have? And I'm going to send it to my wife. iPhone 11, tell me what this is. Oh, that happens all the time because there's a weird little thing in the lens at night. Just, you know, she'll tell me exactly what it is.
Right.
So, again, we debunk a lot of stuff.
That's good.
So,
Good. Yeah.
That's
Really.
really good.
Yeah.
well, we're honest.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I do want to point out a couple of things here. There are two sides to the cemetery. So this is the eastern side. That's the western side.
Right.
This is for native Charlestonians only. That's for everybody else. John Calhoun, vice president, is over there. He's moved several times. He's in a sarcophagus, so they can literally just pick him up and
Oh,
move him.
yes.
So it's heavy. Probably takes
Right.
20 men to move him.
Right.
But they moved him, I think, 3 times. Any tour you take, they like to make that joke that he crossed Church Street more times dead than he did alive. So,
Why did they move him?
because he's not from Charleston.
Oh.
Native Charlestonians only. They moved him with everybody else. He lived here, but
Okay.
he's not from here.
Okay.
They weren't
okay.
sure. So
But he went back and forth how many
I
times?
think 3.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
Make up their mind.
Right.
That's
So-
funny.
Right past this cemetery, I want to point this place out before we move on. So there's a gas lamp down there kind of flashing. Do you see the gas lamp flashing? It looks
I
orange.
do. Yes.
So that's the pirate house. The pirate house is where Blackbeard's men would come in off their ships and they would have a few drinks, meet with a few girls, and then they dug a tunnel underneath the pirate house over 1 block up, going this way, over to Dock Street Theater, one of the top 10 haunted locations in America. Now, they would go up there because Dock Street Theater was called Planters back then. It was a hotel with prostitution. So you can
Right.
imagine the pirates were having a grand old time.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to talk more about that, but I do like to get out of this area just because I know other tours might be coming by and they bring their groups and crowd this whole corner. So we're going to talk more about why this church is connected to Dock Street Theater, but I'd like to point out the Pirate House, and somebody lives there. It's a residence. I can't take you there. But it has a big anchor on the front of it.
Okay.
Can't miss it. Don't go in his backyard. He gets pissed, and I won't say if I know that from experience. So, let's go over here.
Sure.
So still on the legend young lady that was working at the church, and her name was Nettie Dickerson. We know that for certain. And she was an old maid at the age of 23, and nobody wanted to marry her. You have to be 17 was the prime age.
Right.
She sees the prostitution going on at Planters, so she buys a big red dress, and she goes down there and gets herself a job. She's the best loved girl in the whole place. She's still not happy. She's go out to the second-story balcony, because you can see the steeple from down there. I tested it. It's true. About coming back to the church. The priest sees her out there one night. He goes down there to talk to her. Storm rolls in. Lightning strikes the wrought iron banister that she's leaned on and kills her. Now, there's just somebody finally died, right? I give you a story where somebody's dead.
Right.
So, the irony here is that when you see her ghost, first off, it's in color. It's the color red because of her dress.
Right.
And the second thing is you only see her from the knees up. Why? Because we renovated Dock Street Theater, which is what we have now, in 2003, and we raised that first floor ceiling to make it bigger. She's walking on the floor that she knows. So you can only see her from the knees up.
Okay.
And again, the irony there is that it's in color.
Right.
Do I have any evidence of that story there? I do not. I will tell you that I believe it's haunted from some of the wood that's in there. The wood was transferred from a fire in Radcliffe Borough area. It was like 2 neighborhoods, maybe 4 or 5 blocks away from where we started. So this is Charleston. We recycle everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when things burn down, they salvage what they can and they move it.
Right.
The doors that you go into the first floor, and then the high chair rail that's 12 feet in the air on the second balcony, it all came from that mansion. So I can't reach it, and they won't let me near the doors with my EMF meter to see if there's anything there.
Right.
I did get some blips from time to time. You can visit it during the daytime when they're not showing anything. It's gorgeous, like absolutely stunning. Like on my blog, I took a crap ton of pictures just because it's beautiful. And I've been there for a play. I took my daughter to go see Narnia there, so it was really fun. But yeah, it's very old-timey. Like it's very, like when you look at it, you're like, that is not from this era. Like it's gorgeous. And again, one of the top 10 haunted locations in America. I think 3 major paranormal places have deemed it that.
Wow.
I just don't have enough evidence myself.
Right.
So I mean, I'm a block away from it every night. So let's talk about this building here. This is an actual investigation, like kind of what we did at the Pinckney Mansion site. So this building that you see with the crosses to your left, that is the Powder Magazine. That is the oldest government building on the East Coast. So the crosses that you see aren't actual crosses, they're earthquake bolts. You guys know about earthquake bolts?
No.
Okay, so earthquake bolts, I told you we had the big earthquake, which is here, obviously Charleston. So what they did was they started putting these bolts through the floors and ceiling, the roofs of all these buildings around here. And I'll point out more because there's more in that apartment building. They're newer. So the gist of it is if the building gets quaked, they can tighten the bolts on the side of the building and bring it back upright.
Okay.
That's the gist of it. It was such a good idea, you can actually go to California and find that quite a bit.
Okay.
So I don't know if we've ever had to use them, but those are the very first earthquake bolts that we put in.
Interesting.
Right. So again, they're huge. They didn't know how much leverage they were going to need, so forth and so on. But the Powder Magazine was finished in 1713. Interesting thing is this street right here is where the Charlestown Wall came up. So this was the start of the city.
Okay.
So it came up Cumberland Street and went about half a block past the Powder Magazine and then started jutting down towards the water. So again, it wasn't a giant area, but this is away from the water as far as they can make it within the Charlestown Wall. So we're 3 blocks away, so if it were to get hit by a cannonball and attacked, the roof is filled with sand from 1712. It's still there because sand does not disintegrate. So the walls are 32 inches thick. If it gets struck, the blast will stay contained. It's not going to ruin the wall. It's not going to ruin other buildings around it. You've got to kid. That is close. Damn close. All right. So the time period that this building was being built, because it started in like 1702, about 1708, a young lady moved here with her father from Ireland. She was the illegitimate child of the father's maid. So to get away from the wife, he brings his mistress and his daughter here, and he marries the mistress. He's already married to another woman back in Ireland. This young lady's name was Anne Bonny. We have Anna.
Close.
I'm excited. Damn close. So, Anne, well, she wasn't Anne Bonny then, she was Anne Cormack. But anyway, during her teenage years, which would have been just past the time period that this was finished, there's pirates coming through town. She falls in love with one of them. His name was James Bonny. Against Dad's will, she moves to Jamaica. She marries James Bonny. She is now Anne Bonny. This is a long story with a lot of holes, which is why we're here, This was I don't get into pirates, but I've been studying pirates like crazy the past 5 months. So at any rate, she gets married, and James isn't the husband that she wants him to be. He turns into a privateer, which basically means he's a spy for the British. He's spying on his own men. And she wanted a badass pirate, because Anne's kind of badass, right? She's that, kind of defiant one. She falls in love with another pirate. His name is John Rackham, but his nickname, pirate name, Calico Jack. So Calico Jack, kind of up and coming, new, young, handsome, badass, loves to fight, well dressed. That's why he's called Calico Jack. Has his own ship, and she wants to be part of it. So what does she do? She dresses like a guy to become part of it. She's allowed to be female in the captain's quarters, but she has to be a male while she's out on the crew. So because she was female in the captain's quarters with Calico Jack, she becomes pregnant. Calico Jack drops her off in Cuba to go have the baby and still hide her gender before she starts showing. She returns to the ship without a baby, dressed as a female. She no longer cares about hiding her gender. She realizes that Calico Jack's pretty mad at her, and while she was away, Calico Jack captured another ship with prisoners below deck. So she goes downstairs and she's going to flirt with one of these prisoners. Turns out that one of the prisoners she was flirting with was a female, dressed like a man, to become part of that crew. So she convinces this young lady, whose name was Mary Reed, who's also another illegitimate child. Another long story with Mary. But she just convinces Mary to just become part of the crew. Let's go be females and we'll kick ass. So she does. All the other pirates are downstairs below deck watching the prisoners, and Anne and Mary are up top, and the British start attacking them. Anne and Mary were the only two fighting for the ship because all the other pirates were downstairs drunk. They couldn't fight back. Obviously, the ship was captured. All the pirates, from the captured crew and the regular crew, were tried and hung. And then it was Mary and Anne's turn to be tried, and then they revealed their gender to the judge. Chief Justice Nicholas Laws in Jamaica. So I give you that because sometimes Nicholas shows up all the time. At any rate, they reveal their gender, and then they both plead their bellies, which means they're both pregnant. So they get tried and convicted for piracy, but their hanging was delayed. So Anne Bonny, her father, right here in Charleston, still has money from Ireland. He's able to bail her out. Mary Reed dies in jail from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. That was about a year later. Now, what we know of Anne Bonny is that she came back to Charleston, possibly went back up to Virginia, remarried again, had plenty of children, and died at the age of 84. Why we have such specific details, I don't know. But that's why we're here. I will tell you, I started giving this part of the tour on November 28th, 2020. Why do I remember that? Because her trial was November 28th, 1720. So that night, I got the number 300. I got November 28th. I got trial. I got delay. Like, all these things. I'm like, shit. Now I got to talk about pirates every night because I need the rest of the story. So this is a location where I think I've shown you enough with the other places. I don't give suggestive questions. This is a place where you come up with the questions. What do you want to know about this? I don't have the answers. I have to keep reading. I've already read 3 books on Anne Bonny. Every one of them stories was completely different. Like, every one. Some of them gave detail of her childhood. Some of them gave detail on her pirate ship, whatever. So we're going to get as close as we can to the... It doesn't look like any of the tours are coming through here. The other one passed by. She might be in front. We may go check out the front if nobody's up there. But we're going to hang out over here by the side, and I'll show you more about those earthquake bolts.
Okay.
Questions? Intriguing story, is it not? There's so many holes in that one.
Yeah.
And again, reading about pirates, I'm like, yeah, because my ex-wife loved pirates. So I kind of stayed away from it. It was kind of like, yeah, that's her thing. And I'm like, I got to talk about Anne Bonny. So my new wife, she's just like, just do it. You know how to put all these stories together.
Yeah.
Just do it. So she's like, you know you're going to get stuff. All right, let's go. And the funny thing is they used to do just what we're doing tonight in one location in that lawn up there. That was it. 2 hours. They would charge, I don't know how much they were charging to go investigate for Anne Bonny up here.
Oh, wow.
And the only tie that we really have to that, let's actually walk around this so you guys get your shoes. The only tie is the time period. We have other buildings in town that are just as old as this one, but this is a government building. Mm-hmm. It's a museum now. Mm-hmm. Like, you can walk through it. And the building actually served in 7 different wars. It was never attacked. Nobody ever died here. Like, this is not a... Like, when I used to go in... Because I have a season pass. They have books that I can't get anywhere else. So I'm in here a lot. I haven't been in a few months because of COVID, but I was in here a lot when I first moved down here because they got a ton of books that I can't get. but that's the only thing I could find. It's the damn time period. The oldest house we have is the Pink House. That was finished in 1712. There's just no record of it. There's no official record. Somebody, I think, kind of wrote it down. That's how we know the exact year, but there's no official stamp on this is when this house was finished. And that house has been a million different things, and somebody lives in it now. It's only about 400 square feet, and it's 3 floors. It's 1 room per floor.
Oh my gosh.
So living area and a kitchen, bedroom, bathroom. That's it.
Wow.
400 square feet, about 1.6 million.
Wow.
And somebody lives there.
That's insane. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Literally 1 room per floor. Pretty crazy stuff.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
The exterior is so different from everything else you see. You see brick, but this is the big
Well,
panel.
the interesting thing about this is if you go to the old Provost dungeon, you're going to see the same thing. So the inside is what they call a groin vaulted ceiling. So it's 8 pillars on the outside of the building, and they all meet in the middle pillar, which is also 32 inches thick. So it actually looks like a groin. So there's literally like legs, like if you're standing in a certain spot, it looks like legs going like this. So it's a groin vaulted ceiling, and they're all brick. So the brick was laid in a specific way. If you go to the old Provost dungeon, it is the ceiling up there alone. You could stare at that ceiling for hours wondering how the hell they constructed it. Like, it is gorgeous, and it was a dungeon. But to me, like, looking at the architecture of it and studying the things that I do, you can see, you know, where the clay work was done and the bricks were handmade, and, you know, you could just see it, and you could just feel like that place is one of our most haunted places in the city, in my opinion, just from my experience. Like, it is, I get a lot of stuff done. And that Mike I was telling you about with Pleasing Terrors, he called me about my investigation there and featured all of my work at that on his podcast because of that story. All right, so Pirate Girl is going to probably want to come close to here and talk about Anne Bonny.
Pirate Girl.
Yeah, some of these people really, like, I need to look like an investigator. So, and kind of like somebody approachable. I don't want to approach somebody in a costume, would you?
Yeah.
It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
Not to, downgrade another tour.
Yeah, I can understand.
All right, so let me show you the other earthquake bolts over here.
Those are quite thick.
And if you go around the city, some of them are decorated. Where are you guys staying at?
Marriott. Yeah.
Marriott. Which street? The Meeting, King? I'm trying to remember where Marriott is.
Calhoun? Yeah, Calhoun.
You're on Calhoun. Up this way?
Yeah.
Okay. So, when you're walking around the city, you're going to see some that have lion heads on them. You're going to see some with pineapples. Like, if you remove those decor, the bolt is underneath. So, like the Francis Marion Hotel has, it's actually really cool because they have lion heads, but it's holding the awning.
We walked by that one today. Yeah,
So you're by Marion Square.
Yeah.
And that was where the Calhoun Monument was Marion Square. You can't tell that it was there, but there's a Holocaust monument off to the left. I can't remember which street that would be, but when you look at the Holocaust, like, memorial, because it's a big open space, then just to the right of that is where the Calhoun Monument was.
Okay.
And it was 50 feet in the air. You could not miss it. Now, here's what I'll tell you. I know we're getting off topic.
It's okay.
I'm a puzzle guy. I told you that already.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever heard of The Secret by Byron Price?
Secret. No, that doesn't ring a bell.
It's a treasure hunt. So, 1983, an author wrote a book with 12 paintings, 12 verses, and a fairy tale. You match up a verse with one of the paintings, and it'll give you exactly where that particular jewel is buried. So when you find it, it comes with a key. So you give the key to the living author's wife, and they give you you enter this secret society. So it's a big deal. 12 cities all over the country. One of them is Charleston. I've been given permission to dig with my theory, and I had to present it through 3 different government offices to be able to get that permission, and it was a big PowerPoint presentation. You got to remember, I'm a linguist, so the poem part of it was easy.
Right. Yeah.
My wife, the artist, had the painting, and then the partner that I had for Stories in a Cemetery last year, he's a historian. So I'm like, all right, verify this part, verify this, verify that. So I mean, the 3 of us together, like, I am 99% positive. I've already dug once, so I feel like because our ground here is, the way it works is when we get flooded, everything shifts. It kind of moves underground.
Right.
So I talked to some people that I know that work at crematoriums and funeral homes, and when they have to excavate a body, like, they always have to go 10 feet away from where the headstone is.
Oh.
So they have to use a GPR to find it.
Yeah.
So I've already dug once. They've given me permission for GPR through the whole area. You've seen Marion Square. And I'm not to like totally reveal like what I'm doing.
Right.
But at this point, I was pissed off because the Calhoun Monument is part of the solve.
Oh.
Fortunately, I have a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
PowerPoint presentation shows exactly, if there's a shadow with a certain degree of angle at a certain time of day, that the angle comes up to be true and shows you exactly where it is.
Oh my gosh.
It's no longer there, but I have the pictures to give you the general
give you-
vicinity.
yeah.
And you got to remember, this is 39 years old now.
Right.
It was 1983, so 38 years, 39 years. But in that bracket,
Right.
only 3 out of the 12 have been found.
Wow.
That's how hard these puzzles are. And each puzzle has a zodiac jewel to it.
Right.
So this is April's.
Okay.
It's the diamond. That's the birthstone for April. The funny thing is my wife's name is April, and the author's name is Byron Price. My dachshund that I told you about, his name is Byron. So when a historian friend of mine called me and said, "This looks like right up your alley," I'm like, "I just quit my day job. I have a lot of time on my hands." So I dug in, and it was boots on the ground a lot.
Wow.
Walking the city, and everybody's using the wrong verse of what I'm using. So they're using one poem, I'm using another.
Uh-huh.
So, and I'm not allowed to reveal all of what I've done until I'm wrong.
Right.
And when I'm right, I already have the book started, and I will make it a tour because people will pay $50 to learn how I did it.
Right.
I would.
Yeah.
I would do it.
Well,
Do it.
you gotta, there's thousands of people looking for this thing,
Wow.
Yeah.
like hundreds of thousands. So there's a Facebook page just for general secret places, and they talk about all 12 of them, even the ones that have been solved already. But I don't go on there and say, "What do you think of this?" Because
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
not allowed to reveal anything.
Right.
I've signed
Right.
documents.
Right.
So, and I've told the guy who runs it, and I'm like, I wish I could talk about it, but I can't even show you. I have one guy that I just showed because he's getting me the GPR. Like we met up. I've met some really weird characters through this
I'll bet.
because they all want to know what I have. Because
Oh.
I my blog post does say I'm using verse 5,
Yeah.
Okay.
and so it was kind of like, what are you doing with verse 5 instead of verse 6? Because everybody else is looking at White Point Garden, and it's been destroyed because of things that have moved. But yeah, the Calhoun Monument was a big piece of that.
Yeah.
So I was pretty pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
I watched, so they tore the thing down at like 3 in the morning. My phone was going nuts. I just woke up and I just cast it to the TV. My wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "They're ripping down Calhoun." She's like, "You're seriously gonna watch this right now?" I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I got all these projects in motion, and then they're
Yeah.
gonna rip this down, and I can't do
Yeah.
anything because COVID, and of course I
Yeah.
couldn't be there with all the riots and
Right,
the protests.
right.
Yeah.
So we had to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. I've been waiting 2 years. 2 years.
That's crazy.
So, all right, but that thing's been recording
Yes.
the whole time. Hopefully we caught something along the way. Let me check my phone.
Yeah.
What questions do you guys have for me? Has this been a fascinating tour for you, I hope?
It
Oh.
has.
I love history, so you're feeding my brain full of stuff
I'm
that
on point then, huh?
I'm gonna try to research some of this.
Yeah.
That's
Anything good?
The word deal. So, back in those times when the wife would have an affair, what's the word for the male mistress? The mister? What is that?
Suitor? No.
We'll call him the suitor.
Yeah,
So the
that works.
suitor
Yeah.
would go to the husband and try to buy off the dowry to divorce the wife.
Okay.
So Calico Jack tried that with James,
Okay.
and he said no. To what avail, I don't know.
right.
But she was just having all these affairs, flirting with all these men that were women. She was just all over the place. Technically, she had 4 major loves of her life. It would have been James, Calico Jack, Mary, and then she remarried another man after that we know of, because she had many children with him. So I'm going to take the word deal, and I don't see anything fail. It did get broken as we were coming up here, but that could have been related to anything that I told you up until then. That's kind of weak. I'm excited about some of the storms we got wrapped around. Like hay, we got spark and animal. That was pretty. Cancer and plants. Like cancer was
that's-
spot on.
Yeah, that
that's
was pretty
good.
good.
That's real good.
So those are the words that I'm excited about. We'll have to see what else comes out of that. Did you want to turn that up for a few minutes before we
Sure.
wrap it up?
Yeah.
Sorry, I told you we're going to do a full investigation and start talking about my treasure hunts.
That's okay.
I get excited. So out of all the holes in that story, what do you want to know about the most? The baby, Mary, husband.
What happened to them?
Who?
What happened to the baby that was dropped off in Jamaica?
Don't know. We don't even know if the baby came out stillborn or alive.
Oh.
Talking about a filthy pirate.
Yeah. Yeah.
God knows what STD she had.
Right. That's true.
Scurvy going on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The word, what is scurvy is made from something. Is it calcium?
Calcium deficiency or something? It's
Well-
like what sailors used to get for not getting proper
Oranges.
vitamins,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever that vitamin is
Yeah.
that it's made out of came up last week on one of my tours, and I was like, the customer came back to me and they were all excited. I'm like, what does that mean? They're like, that's what scurvy's made out of. Pirates get scurvy. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
we'll change it.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty good.
I'm leaving this run too, just so it won't run unless it's on the screen. We were no better. It got warmer, didn't it?
Yeah.
Or I'm number.
I mean, I definitely feel like it got warmer.
Yeah.
Like I started with hot hands at the
Yeah.
beginning of my 7 o'clock because I was chilly,
Yeah.
and now I'm like, man, it's actually warm. There's no wind over here
Yeah.
either. Too. It's weird.
Book your free counsel.
Book your free counsel.
No longer have a massive mandate.
Massive mandate. Anything dealing with court with her trial is a big deal.
Makes sense.
The Chief Justice that tried her was Chief Justice Nicholas Laws. So another Nicholas. The first Chief Justice of the United States is from Charleston. Nicholas Trott. He's the one who hung all the pirates from Stede Bonnet, the gentleman pirate,
Okay.
down at White Point Garden. And he used to live where Dock Street Theater is now. Before it was Planters Hotel, it was a house. Most people think he lived on the other side of Powder Magazine. It's a misnomer. He lived there while that was being rented out, and then he finally moved in. We have a lot of false history here in Charleston. We gotta dive in. See me. Hopefully you can watch the video and see that.
I heard deer she carried.
Mm-hmm.
Lady.
Lady?
Lady?
The lady.
Doors and indoors. Who you are? Rob. Cyrus, prisoner.
Prisoner.
I heard prisoner.
We'll take it. Come on, Ann, what else do you want to tell us?
Where would you hide a treasure?
She didn't have no damn treasure. She was broke as a joke. Just hanging on to whatever pirates she could.
You're too expensive.
Doubt.
Doubt.
Only take a break.
Take a break.
Hard decision.
Come on, Ann, what else do you want to tell us? Now, the weird thing is if I get anything on the EMF,
That was. That's in there too.
it's exciting to see anything come up on this. Because this is usually a dead zone. Alright, Ann, last chance. We're gonna turn off these boxes.
Good time.
Alright, Ann, I'm gonna say goodnight. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay, it's a close. Hunt.
Hunt. Pledge?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you guys my cards so you guys can check out the website ahead of time.
Okay.